Okay, do you guys believe that a possible reason that Katie and Chris Proudfoot's not talking is there's a possible implication on them in this case? Because life in prison, guys, is a real motivator not to talk.
So, bear with me. I hope the lighting's pretty good and everything for you. Going to be going over the Sebastian Rogers case. A lot of stuff going on. Well, a little bit of stuff's going on, and I just figured I'd give you my thoughts. And then at the end of the video, you can give me your thoughts, and we'll see how this goes. So, a lot of people are saying, when Seth decided to, work with Chris and Katie Proudfoot, they were saying, keep your enemies closer, let them talk.
Yeah, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
This and that. But I'll be honest with you. If Chris and Katie have something to do with Sebastian's disappearance, and we'll just say Sebastian is dead, life in prison is going to keep anyone from talking. So I'll just say that, perfect example, Summerwell's case, Don and Candace, they've obviously been talking for 3 years now, but they're just not talking about the right stuff, you know what I mean? So, I think, if Chris and Katie Proudfoot, are responsible for whatever happened to Sebastian, they'll talk or whatever, but they're not going to talk about anything that's going to incriminate them. And that
I do have to agree with him there. They're not going to talk about anything that incriminates them.
Recent discoveries reveal the danger of drinking warm water before bed without adding this unusual ingredient.
That's what.
Because if they actually had something to do with Sebastian going missing, they're not going to want to go to prison for life or for death. So they're going to do everything that they can to keep the eye of the law enforcement away from them.
What I feel on that. And I was listening to a news piece the other day, and it said that police say there are no viable leads. So, in my opinion, the buck stops with Katie.
Yes, I agree with that. The buck does stop with Katie. And the police are saying there's no viable leads, and in their opinion, there's no foul play involved. But at the same time, at that press conference, the police chief said everyone is a suspect.
I think that we should continue to look at Katie, look at the house. I mean, something happened that night into the early morning hours, and we need to stay focused on Katie, and we need to stay focused on that house and what happened late.
Yes, we need to stay focused on Katie, and we need to stay focused on that house. For all we know, guys, for all we know, Sebastian could be buried underneath the house. And this whole him leaving the house barefoot with a flashlight, that could be a ruse to throw everyone off the track. Sebastian could very well may be under that house.
That night into the early morning hours. Because that right there is where the answers lie for what happened to Sebastian Rogers. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, stuff come out. I mean, right now, you've got, we'll talk about it in a second, but another thing I want to talk about. Just like the Summer Wells case, and a couple other cases, it seems like in Sebastian's life, there has been a lot of CPS involvement. So you have all this CPS involvement, and then
And Seth has touched on that in some interviews, that now he didn't go all out and say there was CPS involvement, but he did say that there was neglect going on, like 3 separate times. And the third time is what's going on right now with Sebastian. And I know he ran away and they found him underneath the neighbor's vehicle, but they found him rather quickly that time. But right now, he's been gone 2 months. 2 months. And the last person to see him alive was his mother, Katie. She is the key to all of this. Katie is the key to where Sebastian is.
child goes missing. That being said, I hope for a good outcome. Don't get me wrong, I hope for a real good outcome. But with CPS being involved in all these child cases, and a child goes missing, and it just doesn't end well. It hasn't ended well in a lot of these cases. So, let me know what you guys think about that. That's another thing that I got to think about. And again, I really want to focus on Katie Proudfoot, because she is, as far as we know, she is the last physical person to see Sebastian. And it was in that house, according to Katie Proudfoot. So I want to know more about Katie Proudfoot. I know we're hearing a lot about Seth, we're hearing a lot about Chris.
I'd like to know more about Katie Proudfoot too. I really would. Exactly what type of person or what type of mother Katie Proudfoot actually is. Now, we've heard it from Seth, what type of mother she is, but we've never heard it from her.
But, like I said, if I were an investigator investigating this case, my main focus is going to be, and based off, I guess I'm investigating it on YouTube, but, my main focus is on the house and Katie Proudfoot, because there's no, like the police said, there's no viable leads. So to me, the buck stops with Katie in the house.
Yes, it does. The buck does stop with Katie in that house.
So I want to know more about Katie Proudfoot. I want to know
Sometimes, the only thing more difficult than running a business is
more about Katie's relationship with Sebastian, especially like probably the last few weeks, months, leading up to his disappearance. We've heard about Seth and Chris. Is there any, neglect or abuse, allegations, chatter, anything like that against Katie? You know what I mean? Has people seen or heard Katie being mean to Sebastian? Has anybody heard Katie or anybody seen Katie, abusing Sebastian? My focus right now is on Katie in that house. That's what my main focus is on right now.
Amen, brother.
Seth come out, I think, with Vinny on 4TV and said it, and I've been preaching this, guys. I've been preaching it. Said they need to get a spokesperson, someone that can speak professionally for them. Seth says that he does have that, but I yet to see this person doing interviews and everything. Again, if there's going to be a lot of TV interviews, podcast interviews, this and that, they, in my opinion, they need a spokesperson to do most of those for them, and just let them do them, just here and there if they want to. But I think a lot of the circus type environment so far has been because the family doesn't have, we'll say, a professional speaking person talking for them. So Seth says that they've got a spokesperson now.
Well, that's
So
cool.
hopefully,
That's very cool that they have a spokesperson now.
that person needs, that person needed to be doing interviews yesterday, in my opinion. So we'll see how all that works out. And, Seth says that he's got some canine cadaver dogs, all kinds of dogs to go look at things. And he's just waiting on Chris's approval to do it. I guess my opinion is, I guess he's going to go look at the house with them. But it being Chris and Katie's house, everybody's like, what does Seth need approval for? Well, unfortunately, it's not Seth's house that he wants to go search. It's Chris and Katie's house, more likely, that he wants to take the dogs to. It's Chris and Katie's property.
Now, do you realize how much trouble Chris and Katie could get into if those cadaver dogs hit on that house? If those cadaver dogs hit, especially underneath the house, like say near the opening for underneath the house, they would be in so much trouble. Could that be why Chris and Katie is not responding about the cadaver dogs? They don't want the cadaver dogs at their house? And if they don't want them there, what are they trying to hide?
And Chris and Katie have ultimate say so. Not unless, Seth can't get a search warrant taking dogs over there without Chris and Katie's approval. But it would be interesting to see if, you know, if Seth was allowed to take the dogs over there on the property, it would be interesting to see if they ended up catching something that the police didn't catch. What do y'all think? I think it'd be interesting. So I guess Seth is just waiting on Chris to say, yeah, you can bring dogs over here and you know, this and that. But you know, that's where we're at right now. That
When I first started Eve, I was a minor, and I was really tired of getting.
I'm following right there, but my main focus right now, guys, my main focus right now is Katie Proudfoot and that house. What happened at that house? Because people just don't disappear. You know, I mean,
Yes, what happened at that house? Like he just said, people don't just disappear. The only time that they disappear is if foul play happened or they ran away. Now, I'm sorry, guys. I do not see Sebastian Rogers running away for this long. Either he was kidnapped or there was some other nefarious thing going on with Chris and Katie.
and if I was an investigator and Katie was sitting across from me, I'd be like, listen, you know, we ran the dogs, there's no sign of Sebastian, you know, there's no scent, there's no nothing, and kids just don't disappear off the face of the earth. And especially when they're safe inside their house and everything's locked up. The doors are locked, the windows are locked. So, you know, Katie helped me to understand how Sebastian could have disappeared when he was safe inside his house. You know, help me to understand that. There's Katie's got a lot of questions to answer here. She's got a lot of explaining to do. I mean, I don't know if Chris and Katie are responsible for Sebastian's disappearance. I mean, did they not think this through? I mean, did they not think that, you know, hey, this kid was safe inside his house, everything was locked up, and we're going to have to say he just, you know, disappeared. I've been saying what David Copperfield came and made him disappear. So did they not think that that would look suspicious as hell? And I don't.
And yes, guys, it does. It does look suspicious as hell. Like this man just said, and by the way, please go leave a comment and a like on this guy's channel as Sweet Tea with Don B. Go leave a like and comment on this channel. Like, Sebastian was safe in his house, in his room, windows were locked, doors were locked, and it was like, poof, he just disappeared off the planet.
They just, I mean, did they not think that through? I mean, to go missing from your house in a safe environment like that, she's got some explaining to do. Something happened.
Yes, she's got some explaining to do. And yes, something happened in that house. Why would you hear a thud coming from your son's room and you not go check it out, and all you say is knock it off in there and go to bed? Why wouldn't you go check out the sound of that thud? Why wouldn't you go check on your son? Since it was only you and him in the house that night. You hear a thud. If I heard a thud coming from my daughter's room and she's 9, I would get up and I would go see what's going on in there. But see, that's what good parents do. They check up on their child if they hear a sound. Clearly, Katie's not a good parent, because she heard the thud and she yelled out, "Knock it off in there and go to bed." The key to this case, guys, the key is that house and Katie.
So that's my focus right there, guys. Let me know if you think I'm focused in the right area. So hopefully the police will get something. But you know, if the police get anything, and like I was investigating it, I'd be talking to people that know Katie. You know, did Katie say anything out of the norm these last few weeks before Sebastian went missing? Because it seems like after he went missing, they've not really responded the way most grieving people would. You know what I mean?
That is on point. They are not responding like most grieving parents would. They went on vacation during this whole thing. Normal parents don't do that. Their behavior is suspicious and odd, and they're very suspicious and odd themselves.
I've not seen any tears. I don't know if they were actually motorcycle shopping or not. There's a lot of weird behavior from Chris and Katie after Sebastian went missing. So I'm looking.
I've seen tears come out of Seth. I have not seen tears come out of Katie, and I have not seen tears come out of Chris. And why were they motorcycle shopping while their son is missing? That is number 3. You know what they say, 3 strikes and you're out. I'm sorry, Katie Proudfoot, Chris Proudfoot, 3 strikes and you're out.
Looking for any type of weird behavior from Katie, maybe Chris, in the weeks leading up to Sebastian's disappearance. My focus is on Katie and that house, and nowhere else. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think.
Oh, thank you, sir. The focus, guys, is on Katie in that house. That is our focus. That is the key to cracking this case, is that house and Katie.
Did you say he's a human hero?
5-year-old Joe Clyde Daniels disappeared from his Dixon County home in 2018. And now some of the very same people who were looking for Joe Clyde are out now looking for Sebastian Rogers. There's no denying the similarities in the two cases. 5-year-old Joe Clyde, autistic, was said to have wandered away from his home at night, barefoot in his pajamas.
We'll try to get this baby out here, so that's what we're hoping for.
That was 6 years ago this month. A massive search and nothing.
Our main job and our focus is finding where he's at, his remains, if his remains, or if he's alive, we'll find him alive.
Now consider 15-year-old Sebastian, autistic and said to have left his home in Hendersonville at night, barefoot, and with a flashlight 2 months ago. A massive search and nothing.
I think in the absence of information, what we'll continue to do is go back over everything we've already done once, put a fresh set of eyes on it.
Back to Joe Clyde, who is presumed dead. You may recall his case quickly turned criminal. Much like Sebastian, there was no physical evidence to explain his disappearance. The key difference is his father confessed to killing his son. He quickly recanted that confession, but was still found guilty at trial. To date, Joe Clyde's body still has never been found. Legal experts say his father never would have been convicted without the confession. So what does this mean for Sebastian?
We have not cleared anyone, but we have absolutely no evidence to support foul play.
This despite hours of interviews with those close to Sebastian. So, no confession, no physical evidence, and no new leads. If anything is to be learned from Joe Clyde Daniels' case, it's that someone who knows something needs to speak out and come forward with that information, and if they don't, it's very possible that Sebastian's case will never be solved. Nick Barris.
Guys, let's get this case solved. Let's get this Sebastian Rogers case solved.
Joining me now is Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father, and Heather Cohen, a private investigator who is now working with him on the case. Thank you both for joining us. Seth, I have to start with you. First of all, I can't imagine being in your shoes. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing this, and I'm grateful that you're joining us tonight. I think our viewers need to understand Sebastian was not physically in the home with you. You are no longer married to his mother. But I just want to check in with you, see how you're doing, and if you know anything tonight that you can share with us.
Just know that he's still missing. I know that there's been really no leads that have been shared with me by law enforcement.
Now, why isn't law enforcement sharing leads with the father? Seth deserves to know where his son is, but yet law enforcement is not sharing leads with the father.
When you say there's no leads, are you working with law enforcement? Are they communicating with you?
Not communicating with me. They're communicating with anybody who'd be my private investigator.
Okay, Heather, I want to weave you into the conversation. You started working with Seth. Why are you working with Seth, and what can you tell us so far?
Well, I had received several phone calls, people asking me to get involved in the case, but I wouldn't do it until I was invited in by a family member or law enforcement. And I did end up getting that phone call. A friend of mine said they talked to Seth and he was looking for somebody, a PI to hire, and he referred me. So I called Seth and here we are. That was about 2 weeks ago. And yes, law enforcement was standoffish at first with me. And
Law enforcement was standoffish with her? That's ridiculous.
And I think that's just because, they had some Seth can be hard to deal with because he's going through a lot right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of trauma. So what can
Right.
you tell us so far about your investigation? What have you learned? What were the circumstances of the home, of his mother, of his stepdad, the thud that they heard?
Well, I can tell you that from my investigation, I believe that this is a domino effect of events. I believe that we have to go all the way back to probably December and January are going to be key months. There are a lot of
This is a domino effect of events. What kind of events?
events. There was a lot of turmoil surrounding Sebastian. We know that Chris Proudfoot was in the middle of a custody battle with his ex-wife. We know that the daughter did visit over Christmas break. We know that Sebastian was with Seth during that time. We know that that there was a DCS referral in, I believe, February to the Stafford home. That call was likely determined to be unfounded because the case was closed and that file is restricted at this time. I know Seth has tried to find out more about that call and he has been unsuccessful in doing so. But I've also recently learned that there may have been some talk about Chris leaving Katie, and I feel that that probably had something to do with Sebastian, so there may have been some trouble in paradise.
Oh, she just opened up a can of worms, guys. Chris was going to leave Katie possibly because of Sebastian. So, what's a good way to save your marriage? If you're Katie, the source of your divorce disappears. Like poof. Could Katie have done something to Sebastian to save her marriage?
To me, these are all things that need to be considered. Could these things have led up to maybe Sebastian just feeling a certain kind of way and leaving? You know, if he overheard a conversation between Chris and Katie where Chris is saying he can't deal with it anymore, he's out, whatever, you know, that could have been motivation for Sebastian to just leave.
Seth, I want to bring you back into the conversation. Was Sebastian safe at his mother's home?
I've heard some things. I have mixed feelings about that.
Were you addressing it with your former wife?
Information that has been brought to my attention has been information received since Sebastian has left.
And the morning after he left, what happened in the home? Can you answer that?
I know that I received a phone call on my cell phone that I didn't get until I got off work. Everything else would be law enforcement or speaking to Chris Proudfoot to figure out what happened.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.
That was a very eye-opening interview. That really was. That sheds new light on Katie Proudfoot. Could she have gotten rid of her son because she didn't want Chris leaving? Because Chris got tired of dealing with Sebastian? That is very, very interesting. Like always, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell notification for any new uploads. And This channel is now sponsored by W Energy. I will be leaving a W Energy link in future videos. So you guys have a good Friday, a good weekend, and TCC out. Peace.